So in these series of videos, we're going to look at some of the basic preparations that can be done within Trimble Business Centre with 2D data that's coming from a consultant engineer. So if we just look at this data, I'm going to jump to 3D view and we can see that basically everything is 2D, but we do have the 3D information actually given as text and levels. So generally when we get this kind of data, we're going to start with the road centre line. I'm not going to show any of the advanced tools within Trimble Business Centre here, so we're just going to stick to the tools that are in most people's versions of Trimble Business Centre. And what I'm going to do is start elevating the road centre line. And before I start elevating, what I want to do is actually connect those up. So I'm using Control and Click to select all these centre lines. I'm right-clicking, and then we can choose the join commands, which I haven't actually run before, so we'll just run it the first time, and then we don't need to go looking for it the next time. So it's under the CAD toolbar, join. I'm going to join all selected lines, and as long as they're all connecting, then they will join up. And I'll just do the same for this one here, so just Control, clicking all the way through, and then right-click now and join lines, because it's a recent command, all selected lines, and we can do that now. What I'll also do is I'll actually do it for the channel information, so I'm just going to select here, and if you've got a more advanced version of Trimble Business Centre, then the project cleanup can do all this sort of stuff automatically. But we'll just use, and I'm just going to join these lines, and I'm going to join some of these lines here, so I won't do them all, but I'll do these ones here. So just Control clicking once again and join. So now that we've got all the lines joined, what we want to do is basically start elevating these lines. And again, some of the more advanced versions of Trimble Business Centre can automatically do this using the Elevate Lines command. We're going to show you the basic command within most people's version of Trimble Business Centre. So I select this line. Because it's been edited, it's always going to be changed to a line string. And we just right-click and choose Edit. And what we're wanting to do is add vertical components to that, or vertical points of intersection to that line. So here we have the horizontal geometry, horizontal changes of geometry all shown in here. There is a field for vertical, or for the elevation, and generally what we want to do is leave that out of all of these fields here. And the good thing about having a separate tab for vertical is the changes in the vertical geometry do not correspond often with the changes in the horizontal geometry. So we go to the vertical tab. It's asking us where we want to put a vertical point of intersection. I choose the location, which is this cross, and I now choose the level by clicking on the level. I move to the next one. I choose the location. I select the text, and we move along, quickly elevating this line to 3D. We'll quickly move along here. Won't take very long. If we do have the more advanced options, we have the Elevate Line commands, in which case we can just select lines and the text, and it will elevate all of the lines for the whole project where there's text within a set distance. So it's quite a powerful command. And then we've got this point here. What I'm going to do now is select another line string, and I'm just going to do the same. So we'll actually do this line string up here, and I'm going to select the distance along, which will be this point here, and the text, the distance along, and this point here, distance along, and the text. What we have here is we've got, if we look at this a little bit more closely, put it in 3D view, we see that these lines are not quite matching, because what happens here is we've got a level at this point on this line string and a level at this point in this line string, and it will basically extrapolate that grade to this point here. Now what we need to do is we need to lower, or we need to put the height on the end of this line string, which will be according to the grade between these 2 points. So where do we want to put the level? We want to put it there. What's the elevation? Well, we just right click and we choose a long line snap. We select the line which we have already elevated, so we know that this grade in the line is correct. We select that line and then we select this point, and it will basically grade along the line, and we can see that the elevation here is 28734. So that will basically just be on a set grade between these 2 points here. If we move across to the other junction, we've got exactly the same situation. So we're going to first of all put some levels on this. So where do we want? We've got a level here, point here, click here, click here. And then what we want to do is we want to put a level on here based on the grade between these 2 points. So distance along, that's there. We want to put at the start. We right click, a long line snap, select the line that we've already elevated, and then select the distance along that line. And then we've got something that's on the grade. So if we jump to the 3D view, we can see we've pulled that line nicely onto that one. And we've done the same with this one here. So they're now properly tied into each other. So we go around all our road center lines, elevating them. And then what we need to now do is elevate the channel strings here relative to the, or elevate them relative to the center line. And we can see in this drawing, which is very common, it's basically a set grade from the center line. And the whole of this data set is all minus 2.5% from the road center line. Again, there's fast ways of doing this if you've got the more advanced modules in TBC. So there's a vertical design option, which is very powerful. But you always need to master these basic tools. So we select the line, we choose Edit, and once again we go to the vertical tab. This time, however, we're going to change the type to an offset slope, because we're wanting to elevate it relative to the center line. So we choose offset slope. We now choose that reference line in the middle. We type in our crossfall. And then if we click these 2 buttons, they will choose auto advance. So it's like locking the line that we're referring to and the grade. And now I can go along. So the only thing that we're putting in is the distance along. And I'm basically, wherever I stop, it's going to do a 2.5% grade from that location. We have to be careful on things like low points and high points that we have them at sufficient density where we need them. So we can go along. We don't need to snap onto it. We basically can just go along. We don't need to snap onto the channel string. And I would go as far as here. And that is basically how we elevate all of these channels. At a junction like here, we've got a few approaches. So we can change the line string we're editing. Well, sorry, the line string remains as we go around the corner, but the reference line will change. So we're now going to go 2.5% from this reference line, and we can start grading along there. And what happens here is it's basically going to just transition from 2.5% relative to this center line, 2.5% relative to this center line here. Obviously that is not always the way things will be, but the main thing is to master these tools whereby we're grading at a specific, we're grading from a specific road center line, and we're elevating the strings based on that. So these are the first set of tools that we'll be using for elevating roads within Trimble Business Center. Once they're 3D, as you can see here, we're starting to elevate all these strings, then they can be sent across to the controller for setting out.